What's up, Michigan fans? Welcome back to the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. We talk all things Michigan football, basketball, and all Michigan sports because we love all of our Michigan Wolverines. I'm Chris. Thanks for being here. We got a big show to get to. I appreciate you taking time here today to hang out with me. Let's have some fun and talk some Michigan sports. As you can see here, this is what we're going to talk about. We've got a few things in the media to touch on. Joel Klatt's top 10 coaches. A certain Michigan coach may be on there. We'll talk about that. Speaking of coaches, some former Michigan coaches, assistants went to another team. Where did they go and what will their positions be now? We also had a former player talking about his thoughts on Michigan and why he transferred. And of course, we've got to talk about a few things that Bryce Underwood said when asked about becoming a team captain and the new coaching staff. We'll also, of course, touch on some recruiting, recap Michigan's win over Minnesota in basketball, and stick around to the end of the video and I'll reveal the question of the day results from yesterday when I asked who's the most clutch kicker in Michigan football history. All that and more on this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Let's go blue and let's get to it. Now, all of us Michigan fans, including me, are very excited about Kyle Whittingham. We think he's a great hire. We are pumped for what he's going to bring to Michigan, and we cannot wait to see what the next few years will bring. But we're not the only ones. There is some media hype around Kyle Whittingham, and a few different things put out, a few different outlets put out their thoughts on head coaching hires and the top coaches in the game. Let's start with Joel Klatt. I love Joel Klatt's stuff. He may be, sometimes people think he's a little bit of a Big Ten homer. That may be true. And he knows Kyle Whittingham from calling games. But at the end of the day, he put out his top 10 coaches in college football right now. And our boy, Kyle Whittingham, was number 7. Now, we could argue where other people are. And we can argue whether we think some people should or shouldn't be on here. And if it's biased because of who we root for and who we root against. I'll let you look at it. Let me know in the comments what you think of his top 10. If you agree, disagree, all of those things. We can talk about that more down the road as we get closer to the season. But I think it's awesome that Kyle Whittingham is in this top 10. And a lot of people said this isn't top 10 teams, although Michigan has been around there between 7 to 13, 14 in that range. So a top team. Preseason team, but it's not just top 10 teams. It's coaches. And how can you look at Kyle Whittingham, what he did at Utah, the success he's had, especially when doing doing more with less there? How can you not say he is a top coach? I think anybody in that college football world, they think very highly of him and definitely put him as a top 15 coach. So I'm completely fine with him being in there. I think it's well deserving. But it wasn't just Joel Klatt. There's also some other media outlets that put out their grades of hires, and CBS Sports gave Michigan an A for the hire of Kyle Whittingham. They think it was a fantastic hire. They think the same thing as many people, that he has done a lot at Utah with less resources, and they're excited to see what he can do with more at Michigan. Also, The Athletic, they gave Michigan an A- for Kyle Whittingham. Gave him a lot of praise, but want to see kind of on the field before they can evaluate that. And of course, I mean, right now we're talking about the hire, the fit, and I'd say it's an A+ as a Michigan fan, but I'd say it's a solid A. Just the job he did, getting right to work, working on retention, keeping so many important young players on this roster, and then bringing in a really good transfer portal, keeping the recruiting class together. I think he did a bang-up job. He's made some great coaching staff hires. I really like Dave Peliquin, the GM hire that he's just made. He's just rocking it out, and I can't wait to see what he does next year with recruiting and the transfer portal when he's there established and he's got his team all around him. And I just can't wait to see what the team does. So I am excited, but it's just nice to see that validation a little bit for us Michigan fans when other people just think, oh, you just think that because you're a Michigan fan. Although I've seen a lot of Pac-12 fans and I've seen a lot of Big 12, Pac-12 fans talk about how we got ourselves a stud in Kyle Whittingham, and we're going to love how he coaches and what our team looks like under him. And there's a lot of fans that are still going to root for Michigan now because they like Kyle Whittingham. So it's a pretty awesome time. Kyle Whittingham's the man. He's an A-plus hire. And he's a top 10 coach. All you gotta do is see it on one thing, and you can say that. Let me know what you think about all this praise for Whittingham. Yes, we gotta see how it translates on the field, but I'm pretty dang excited. I think he's doing awesome so far, and I agree with all of it. So bring it on. Bring on some more. Speaking of coaches, two former Michigan coaches, tight ends coach Steve Casula and special teams coordinator J.B. Brown, both under Sherrone Moore, both no longer here because they were not great coaches. But anyway, they joined Texas's staff, and you're probably thinking, oh, J.B. Brown is the new special teams coordinator? No, he's an assistant in the special team room. Casula must be the new tight end coach. No, he is an assistant, not the position coach. So it's just interesting when you think about Sherrone Moore and his staff. We used to always kind of say, or you looked at him and you looked at everything and you thought, if Sherrone Moore were to be let go, would anyone else hire him as a head coach? No, probably not. He is a great offensive line coach. Maybe somebody would give him some run at offensive coordinator based off of that team winning the national championship. But I don't think that might not even happen. Of course, now that's all out the window. But it's the same thing with a lot of his position coaches. Nobody's knocking down the door to bring in Steve Casula to coach their tight ends. And nobody wants J.B. Brown because nobody wants to see 2-yard shank punts every single game. So good for them for finding another gig, for landing another spot. But I just thought it was interesting to see them join another big program, but they are just assistants in the room to help out. Interesting stuff. Speaking of Michigan people going to other places, Brandyn Hillman, Michigan's safety, one of our players that transferred out, talked to a Virginia media outlet and was being interviewed and talked just about how he was never able to really get settled, how he never really could feel like he was home at Michigan because of all the things going on. He said he won a national championship his freshman year. That was great. But then you had all the cheating stuff hanging over them. And then Harbaugh and a lot of the staff he got used to left. New staff kind of takes over and comes in. There's just a lot of topsy-turvy, a lot of drama, all this stuff under Sherrone Moore's watch. And then Sherrone Moore and all of them are leaving again. A new staff's coming in, and he, I think, decided I need to just go somewhere else. So I can't fault him for it. It is kind of a bummer because I do think if he would have stayed, he would have found that home and that stability under Kyle Whittingham and Jay Hill. I think he would have had some great coaches and some great men helping to impact him and lead him. But he did talk about how Michigan helped him in a lot of ways become a better person, become a better father, and grow in a lot of ways. So that was good to hear. I wish him the best. He was a player I really enjoyed and really loved watching and wanted him to get more and more opportunity. And then when he finally did, he was kind of a swing for the fences player. He would make some big plays, but then he would miss and give up some big plays. But I really would have loved to see what this coaching staff could have done with him. But I wish him well in Virginia. I just thought that was interesting to share what he had said. And finally, Michigan quarterback Bryce Underwood was on Champ Media and was asked a couple questions that I thought were interesting to share. They asked him how he feels to be a team captain. He said he felt blessed, that it was an honor. He loves being a leader for this team and for these players. And that he just was really touched and, felt blessed by it. And also they asked him what he thought of the new staff, and he, has spoken highly of Kyle Whittingham and Jason Beck and the staff before. But he just said that it's a fresh start, and it's a fresh start for all the guys, and he thinks that it brought them closer together and that it's going to be a good, impactful thing down the road, and it's going to pay off. Because, when you have a big change like that, they had to come together and they kind of had to lead themselves and group together because they really didn't have a coach or a coaching staff for a little bit. And let's be honest, even sometimes when they did have coaches, they didn't have coaches. So that was interesting to hear. I'm excited to see what kind of leader Bryce Underwood's going to be this year off the field, and of course, to see what kind of leader he's going to be on the field. Michigan basketball defeated Minnesota last night in the Chrysler Center on pool party night. Michigan got it done, won 77-67. It was not pretty. It was pretty fugly most of the time. It was kind of how I thought it would go. Minnesota's a really tough team. They have a way of just slowing down the game, keeping it half court, and they're just really just a gritty, hard-nosed team, and they make it tough on you. But they have a very short bench. They do not have a lot of depth, and they struggle to score a lot of points in a hurry. So you figure that with Michigan's talent and depth advantage and their ability to speed the game up, that even if there were spurts where things got tough, they would eventually pull away with it. And that is kind of what happened. But they came out sluggish. They came out a little lifeless and struggled a lot on offense. And it was close early. Minnesota actually had a lead early on. But eventually they settled in. A lot of it was thanks to the bench coming in. Gale, Kaysen, and McKinney all came in and provided a spark, hit some huge baskets. McKinney went nuts from three in the second half. Kaysen had a lot of great plays and a lot of energy. They both played excellent. And then eventually in the second half, the starters caught up and started playing better. Elliot Cadeau had a great game. He was the leading scorer with 13. He had no turnovers, although turnovers were an issue. In the first half, they built up a nice lead, and then right before the end of the half, they had some turnovers, and then Minnesota got back into it, and they only led by 4 at the half. But in the end, they pulled away. They got up to a lead as big as 18, and then at the end, Minnesota kind of hit some shots and made it look closer than it was. But Michigan wins by 10. All that matters is just win, baby. They got a huge game now Friday night at Illinois. So that one's going to be an interesting one for sure. Can't wait to see how they play in that game against a much tougher opponent, even though Minnesota is sneaky tough. But Michigan, by winning this game, clinches at least a share of the Big Ten regular season championship. If they can beat Illinois Friday night, they will win it outright and get that number 1 seed in the Big Ten tourney. That is always such an important thing to get. Really makes it a lot easier, your path to a Big Ten tourney championship. So big win for Michigan. They bounced back, knew it was going to be tough. It was a combination of all the emotional turmoil from that tough, heartbreaking Duke loss, and then playing a team that's just a buzzsaw in Minnesota who can just make it hard on you and get you out of your game. But they were able to hang in there. They did what they had to do. The bench and the guard play was great for Michigan, and it got them a victory. And they made 100% of their free throws. There were only 5, but that is something to celebrate as well. Again, I do a live post-game chat after every Michigan basketball game. Thank you to those of you that joined me last night after the Minnesota game. Keep an eye on the channel, and if you're hanging around after the Illinois game, hop on with me. We love to chat and kind of talk about the game and talk about who knows what. We always end up talking about some wild stuff. So thanks for everybody that hung out with me, and if you haven't yet, consider joining us Friday after the Illinois game. Should be a fun time. And hopefully we'll be talking about a Big Ten regular season championship and a victory over Illinois. In other Michigan sports, this weekend we've got a lot of baseball, softball, hockey stuff to talk about. But for now, tonight, the Michigan women's basketball team is back on the hard court after a tough loss to Iowa last weekend. They're going to be playing Ohio State, who's number 13 in the country. So it'll be a good test for Michigan's women's basketball team to get back on track. That game's going to be on Peacock. Gotta love the Peacock. So that game's tonight. Go root on the Michigan women's basketball team, who's had a fantastic year. Hopefully they can get back on track tonight. Now, in some recruiting news, I've got just a couple of pieces I wanted to talk about. Lou Esposito, former Michigan defensive line coach who moved on to the Ravens with Jesse Minter. His son, Luis Esposito, a guard, a very good guard in Michigan at Saline. He can also play some tackle. He would be a great get for Michigan. He said that he was still committed after. He really loves the coaching staff. He'd built a great relationship with them. But with his dad gone and other teams come knocking, you never know. Of course, Penn State, amongst others, is interested in Esposito, and he is not he said Michigan's great. He loves the coaching staff, but he doesn't know anything right now if he's going to take other visits, if he's going to listen to these other offers. So we'll see what happens with him. It's a long process, this recruiting thing. And of course, I don't blame the kid. I hope we get him because I think he could be great for Michigan. And I think that Jim Harding is one of the best in the biz, so he should want to come here and learn under him. But he also thought he was coming to be with his dad, and that changed. So that's a lot to consider. So keep an eye on that one. It may not be the slam dunk that initially thought it was with his dad leaving and now other teams coming knocking. So we'll see what happens there. And also another awesome prospect I talked about, defensive lineman David Falarancho. He is someone that we have a great chance to get, but now there's another reason that we might have a great shot to get him. Of course, with Larry Black, he's been someone that he's built a relationship with when he was at Vanderbilt. They have a good connection, and he really likes what Larry Black has talked to him about with how he coaches the defensive tackles and his plans. And he really is excited about Michigan. So that's good. But there's another piece that is awesome also. Nate Marshall, Michigan's defensive edge, who hopefully will have a great year this year that I'm excited about. He was a player from the Chicago area, just like David, just like Falarancho, and he looked up to Nate Marshall, and he was someone that he really aspired to play like and be like. So hopefully Nate Marshall can be involved in the recruiting and say, hey man, come play with me. We can be line mates here and go win a natty together. So just interesting. That'll be a great one to keep an eye on as well, because that would be a really good get for Michigan's defensive line for the future. And now it's time for the question of the day results. Yesterday, I asked, who is the most clutch kicker in Michigan football history? Now, you could pick from these kickers. I had Jake Moody, Money Moody. I had Remy Hamilton and Garrett Rivas, or other. I almost put Dominic Zavada. I think he's pretty clutch. So if you wanted to pick him, you could pick other. It would make perfect sense, but I didn't want to have the too much just in the last few years kickers with already having Moody on there. I wanted to spread it out a bit. But he is fantastic, as well as Turner. Turner was great our national championship year. He did what he needed to do. So a lot of great kickers at Michigan, and looking through the list, there was so many. There's a lot of great kickers in Michigan history. So let's see what the results were, because they're in and they're right here. As you can see, it was a runaway win for Jake Moody, which I kind of thought it would be. He was a great kicker. I mean, ice in his veins. I will never forget that Illinois game, as I'm sure many of you won't, where the clock was running, no timeouts, and it's just ticking down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And he just runs out there with the holder, and they just slide. The holder slides. They snap the ball back, and Moody kicks it, drills it to win that game. I mean, what a huge win that was. Who knows how that season would have gone if they would have lost that game. So yeah, I would agree. I love Moody. I really love Rivas though. He was the original thicker kicker. Dude could just pound it and was so accurate. He was a fun kicker. And Remy Hamilton was the kicker when I first really started getting into Michigan football as a younger kid. So he always has a special place in my heart. But so many great kickers through the years. But I would agree, Moody was clutch. He was clutch. Zavada, can't go wrong with him, man. There probably isn't any other kickers that could nail over 50-yard kicks with ease like he did. And now I'm excited to see, is my boy Trey Butkowski gonna be added to that list after we see what he can do over the next couple of years. So thank you everybody that voted. Again, remember, I ask a question of the day every day. So if you haven't voted today, head on over to the community tab and vote. That's going to do it for this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Thanks again for hanging out with me. It means a lot. I appreciate you all. We're still working towards that 1,000 subscribers to see my beard, Maize and Blue. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you had fun, please consider doing so. It also helps to hit that like button and leave a comment. Please feel free to leave a comment. I respond to every comment, and I love talking to you guys down there, so I'll see you in the comments section. I'll see you in the next video, and until I do, have a fantastic day, and as always, go blue.